very much. At this point, I am required to ask you a number of questions, which we ask all nominees. So have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest?
I have, Senator.
Have you assumed any duties or taken any actions that would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
I have not, Senator.
Exercising our legislative and oversight responsibilities makes it important that this committee, its subcommittees, and other appropriate committees of Congress receive testimony, briefings, reports, records, and other information from the executive branch on a timely basis. Mr. Colby, do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify before this committee when requested?
I do, Senator.
Do you agree to provide records, documents, and electronic communications in a timely manner when requested by this committee, its subcommittees, or other appropriate committees of Congress, and to consult with the requester regarding the basis for any good faith, delay, or denial on your part in providing such records?
I do, Senator.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established by this committee for the production of reports, records, and other information, including timely responding to hearing questions for the record?
I will, Senator.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
I will, Senator.
Will those witnesses and briefers be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
They will, Senator.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to begin a round of 5-minute questions. I'm going to a round of questions limited to 5 minutes per member, and I'm going to hold myself as chair to that 5 minutes also. So at this point, let me begin by asking about a couple of policy advisors that are already in place. One of your advisors, if confirmed, would be Mr. Michael Domino. You did not choose Mr. Domino for that.
Senator, no, I was not the hiring person.
He said recently there are no vital, quote, there are no vital or existential U.S. interest in the Middle East, unquote. Mr. Colby, to your understanding, does that reflect the president's policy in the Middle East?
Senator, I think that the president has made clear that we do have really important interests in the Middle East.
Does Mr. Domino's policy pronouncement reflect your own views?
Senator, no, I wouldn't. He does not speak for me, and I think I have a number of views that differ materially from his, from what I understand, just in public reporting.
Another policy advisor is Mr. Andrew Byers. He's an advisor on Southeast Asia. He believes that thinking about communist China through the lens of deterrence is wrong. He thinks maybe we should give up what he calls, quote, belligerent policies toward China and see if they will reciprocate. He apparently thinks pressing Beijing on trade is a bad idea. So, Mr. Colby, does that reflect the president's policy, our President Trump's policy on China, in your view?
It does not, Senator, and I would say that it does not reflect mine. I mean, as I think Senator Banks and the Vice President kindly mentioned, I wrote a book really focused on the lens of deterrence. And of course, as the Vice President, I think, rightly mentioned, we also need to be thinking about the economic dimension. And of course, the administration's already taking measures in that direction. So I have it seems, again, I'm not intimately familiar with his work, but it seems like a quite different perspective than my own.
And I do understand that you've made no determination as to whether Mr. Domino and or Mr. Byers will be retained in those positions.
Sir, as part of not presuming, my understanding is that I should not be even sort of thinking in that way. Senator, what I would say is that if confirmed, obviously I would be only one person in a chain, including, of course, the Secretary of Defense, the Presidential Personnel Office, and ultimately the President, the Vice President, and so forth. But what I would commit to you is that anybody in my organization, if I'm confirmed, should be in line with the President's agenda, including the issues that you mentioned.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Colby, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I have appreciated what I view as your clear articulation of the core U.S. interest in Taiwan, which are too infrequently discussed in the public here in America. As you wrote in American Compass last year, quote, Nothing that could happen abroad is more plausibly and gravely threatening to Americans than China invading Taiwan. Unquote. Your 2022 article at Stanford has about as good a one-paragraph summary of our interest in Taiwan as I've seen. Yet in November of last year, some people believe your position may have taken a marked turn as you wrote, quote, America has a strong interest in defending Taiwan, but Americans could survive without it. So, Mr. Colby, I'll let you respond to that, but specifically, can the United States enjoy a golden age for America with increasing prosperity for our citizens in this century if we fail to deter China in Taiwan, or worse yet, lose that war?
Well, thanks, Senator. Losing Taiwan's fall would be a disaster for American interests. The underlying logic behind my position is that the military balance vis-a-vis China, as you, sir, and your committee members, fellow committee members have amply and eloquently pointed out, has deteriorated dramatically. What I have been trying to shoot a signal flare over is that it is vital for us to focus and enable our own forces for an effective and reasonable defense of Taiwan, and for the Taiwanese as well as the Japanese to do more. So my position in terms of the value of Taiwan is consistent, but what I'm very fearful of, Senator, and I think this is agreed across administrations of both parties, is that, the military balance has declined. So what I'm trying to avoid a situation in which, because we are not adequately prepared, we get in a situation, the analogy I like to use is Winston Churchill in 1940 wanting to send Spitfires and Hurricanes to the Battle of France, but Marshal doubting, saying, if we do that, we're not going to be prepared to be able to defend the home islands. That's a sort of an extreme example, but
How
that's
soon
what I'm
will
trying
it
to
take
avoid.
us to get prepared?
It would be essentially my number one, or one of my very top priorities, if confirmed, to try to get us prepared as quickly as possible, and then over the medium and longer term as well, Senator.
And you and I are absolutely united on that.
Right.
Thank you very much.